Okay, there we go. We are recording. Welcome to our session. My name is Estelle. I am a financial planner at General Blue Star, but I'm also a money coach. And today we're going to talk about the real key to financial success. So when it comes to finances, in the industry, we have a saying that it's often not the financial plan who fails the client, but the client who fails the financial plan. And what that means is the biggest challenge, in a sense, as a financial advisor is not to draft a financial plan or to find out what advice to give the client. That's the easy part. The difficult part is to get the clients to implement the advice that you give them. And the reason for that is because financial success really depends a lot more on our behavioral patterns than anything else. And I think that most of you, if not all of you, will recognize that pattern in your own life, that you want something, but you don't always do what you have to do to get the thing that you want. If you can maybe indicate to me if you know what I mean. And I forgot to say this, I really like to have my sessions to be interactive. So I will ask you to complete polls, and if I don't get a lot of reaction, I may start unmuting people because I don't want you to sit there quietly. Can you maybe just show me with a thumbs up? I'm not sure what you call it on Zoom and where it is, but there is some way to make a thumbs up, or you can do it in the chat box. I'm sure you can do it in the chat box. Just let me know if you feel like you understand what I'm talking about. Antoinette says she does. You know what you want. You know what you have to do to get that. But for some reason, you continuously don't do it. And that is something that I don't think it's only in finance. I'm sure it's not only in financial planning. One of the most common problems that people have is that they aren't fit, or that they are overweight. And if you think about it, there's a lot of knowledge about what to do to lose weight, what to do to get fit, what to do to be healthy. There's a lot of knowledge. The problem is not that there isn't enough of information. The problem is also not that the information isn't available. A few decades ago, maybe it was, but today it really isn't. In fact, we have so much information available, I think we don't even know where to start. All of us know what to do and how to do it, but to get ourselves to do it is usually the biggest challenge. Okay, so I'm going to talk first about my first money memory. I think I was about maybe 4 years old, and we were sitting in church, and they were passing the collection plate. And my dad always gave my sisters and myself, I'm the youngest, a coin to put in the plate when coins were still worth something. And I remember very well, he gave me, I think it was a 1 rand. It was a big coin. I liked the coin. Or maybe it was a small one, because what I did is I put it in the basket and I took another one out, because I thought that's how it worked. I thought it was you swap the coin that you have for another one. And my parents immediately reacted by showing me, no, that's not what you're supposed to do, put it back. And, you know, they didn't make a big thing about it, but I remember it so well. And today, looking back, I realized that I learned a lot of lessons in that event, in that short incident taking place. Because remember, you must always think about your subconscious mind. A young child comes into the world with nothing programmed in their minds. It's like a clean hard disk drive. There's nothing on it. And in that moment, okay, I was already maybe 4 years old, so I must have had a lot of experience already, but I still didn't, I think, now that I think about it, I was probably younger than 4. It was still a very new thing for me to learn about money and how people react and what their reactions mean. So in that moment, I realized that money is something that's very important. And what I mean by that is what you do with money and how you do it matters. I also learned that people are watching you. They are watching what you are doing, and that you may be judged if you do the wrong thing. It's important to do the right thing. That's what I learned from that experience. So what I want to explain now is that as young children, we have interactions in the world, and we build our understanding of the world gradually as we experience different things. And we also construct our understanding of the world by looking at others and seeing what they do and how they do things. And what's very important about that is certain things that we learn about how the world works stays with us into adulthood. And not just about how the world works, but our perception of ourselves. So as a young child, if you, for some reason, you experience something, there's a situation or an incident that makes you wonder if you are good enough, or makes you think that maybe you're not smart, or whatever it may be, you could carry that with you into adulthood, even if it's no longer true. And that's a very important thing to understand. We make certain decisions about the world, about ourselves. And even though later in life we have more information to see that that decision or that belief that we formed doesn't really make sense, even if we know it doesn't make sense, that belief can still persist, and it usually does. Okay, so I already said this. Lessons that I learned from my first money memory. Money is a serious issue. How you behave related to money is important. If you do the wrong thing, you will be judged, and people are watching us. They are watching us to see what we are doing. Okay, so now I'm going to run a poll. Here we go. And I will give you a bit of time to answer the questions. I can see that there are still people who haven't answered all the questions, so I'll still give a few minutes for the last 2 questions for everybody to complete. Okay, so at this stage, it looks like only 2 people completed the last or answered the last 2 questions. Is anybody still busy typing an answer? If you are, then I'll wait. If not, we can continue. So please just let me know. Maybe just give a thumbs up if you are ready to continue. I think I'll leave the poll open for now, but I will continue with the presentation. Okay. So, somebody is saying, I'm unable to type and answer the last 2 questions. Okay, thank you for those who've typed in the chat. Alfred, I am not sure why you are unable to answer the last 2 questions. Antoinette, the answer to question 1 does not include the age I had my first learning experience. Can you tell us in the chat what age you were? I'm curious to see. Okay, so I think I'm going to end the poll then. I assume that everybody is finished with it then. Okay, so let's take a look at the results before we continue. Okay, most people said they were 5 to 6 years old with their first money experience. Yes, that's common because when children are younger, they aren't really very aware of money. How would you describe your feelings about the incident at the time? Okay, 3 out of 5 said positive emotions, 1 said negative, and 1 said neutral. Okay, what do you think your younger selves? Okay, so these details I'm not going to open now. We can continue with the rest. Okay, so I want to tell you a little bit about myself to understand why I think about money the way I do. So in this picture, you will see my great-grandparents. That's my father's mother and no, I'm sorry, my father's mother's parents. So this great-grandmother of mine lived through the Anglo-Boer War, and she was taken to a concentration camp during the Anglo-Boer War. And I never knew her. I knew my grandmother. And my father told me the story that when she was taken to the concentration camp, they were being escorted from their home. And they were driving and they saw I think it was still on the farm. It was covered in white. They thought it was snow, so they stopped and they wanted to see what it was. Why was everything white? And when they stopped, they saw that it was sheep, dead sheep. So the British soldiers, and I'm sure you will all know the history, they burned down houses and they destroyed crops, etc. And so they shot all the livestock. And I never knew this as a child. I didn't know that story. But I knew my grandmother, and she was an extremely frugal person. She wouldn't waste anything. And she was very conservative in terms of money. And my father is like that as well. Especially now, with the perspective that I have as a financial planner, I can see how he is really overly frugal in some instances. But now as an adult, with all this knowledge, I completely understand that, because if everything was taken away from you, of course you will be frugal. But what comes out of that is often a person who plays the role of a martyr. And they take it with them throughout their lives, and they pass it on to their children, and they pass it on to their children. And good habits are passed down like that, but unfortunately also unhelpful patterns. So, whoops, I didn't want to continue to the next one yet. Okay, now what I want you to think about is, what is it that you want in terms of finances? There's a poll for that. How would you like your finances to change? You can type a really short answer. See, one person has answered the question. I'll give some time. I'm not sure if anybody else is busy typing an answer. Okay, 6 people are busy typing an answer at the moment. Is anybody still busy typing an answer? It looks like 6 people are, but I'm not sure. If anybody is still busy, please just let me know. Otherwise, I'll continue. I'll close the poll. Okay. Last opportunity. Oh, okay. Somebody else answered. So somebody was still busy. Okay, I think I'll go on. I'll continue with the presentation and leave this open for another while. Okay, so usually when you ask people what do you want differently in your life in terms of finances, They would say, I don't want debt. I don't want to have conflict with my spouse. I don't want to struggle. I don't want to be restricted. I don't want to worry. Which is quite understandable. But the problem with that is you're always communicating with your subconscious mind. And if you tell your subconscious, I don't want debt, conflict, struggle, restriction, worry, then the only thing that your subconscious is hearing is debt, conflict, struggle, restriction, worry, debt, conflict, struggle, restriction, worry. So in a sense, you can think about your, not just your brain, but your nervous system in many ways works like a computer. If you have a belief about something, or you are resisting something, then that's almost like a program that keeps on running. It runs in the back of your mind without you knowing it continuously. It doesn't stop. And your subconscious will always be searching for things that fit that description. So if you are telling yourself, I don't want debt, then without realizing it, you are telling your subconscious mind, you almost gave the instruction to say, please find ways and opportunities for me to increase my debt. Please find ways and opportunities for me to increase the conflict that I have in my life or in my marriage or relationship. You cannot be moving away from something. You cannot think about something and move away from it. You have to change your thoughts. And instead of saying, I don't want debt, what do you want? I want, when I buy something, I want to pay cash for it. Or when I look at what I own, I want to really own it. And if you are saying, I don't want conflict, what do you want? I want to have constructive discourse in terms of money with my spouse. Okay, so some people are still answering, so I'm not going to end that poll now. But I'm sure if I look at the answers that you typed, many of you would have said, I don't want this or that. So that would be the first tip that I can give you is sit down. You have to take some time to think about this quietly. Sit down and ask yourself, what do I really want? People are usually very quick to tell you what they don't want. But when you ask them, what do you want? Many times they don't, then only they realize that they don't really know what they want. But you are always moving towards something. You are never moving away from something. So instead of saying, I don't want debt, what you need to do is, I want freedom. Or whatever word you would replace freedom with. Okay, now let's talk about archetypes. In money coaching, we work with archetypes. These archetypes were identified by Deborah Price in the USA. She was my coach. She was my money coach, and she also trained me as a money coach. So what are archetypes? Money types or archetypes? An archetype is a universally recognizable symbol, character, or pattern of behavior. Whoops, typing error, sorry. That appears across different cultures and time periods. It's essentially a prototype that others are based on, often found in myths, stories, and even our own individual lives. Think of it as a template for understanding common human experiences and personalities. So before I was talking about my great-grandmother, and I mentioned the word martyr. And that is one of the money archetypes, is the martyr. The martyr is somebody who is always willing to help others, but they often do so to such a degree that they neglect their own needs. And that type of pattern persists in your life without you realizing it. And it has a negative impact on your financial success. And what we do in money coaching is we make those patterns more, you help people to become aware of those patterns, and then you can change them. So that's the next question, is can we change? When you have identified these patterns, and I think most people know to some degree at least that they have unhealthy patterns in terms of money, they just don't know how to change it. So first of all, can we change? And the answer is I can very happily report that the answer is yes, we can definitely change. One of the biggest discoveries in neuroscience in the last 100 years was that, or maybe a little bit more than 100 years, was that the adult brain still changes. They used to think that the brain is hardwired, meaning how you are born, or at least, you know, there's at some stage they said, okay, children's brains are obviously changing, but as an adult, when you're 18 years old, for example, 20 years old, the way your brain is formed at that stage, it'll stay like that forever. And now we know that that was completely false. There was even a Nobel Prize winner who said that the brain is hardwired, it doesn't change in adulthood, no new brain cells are born. And he was entirely wrong about the whole thing. So the brain keeps on changing. Even in geriatric patients, they've seen that there was a study done. It was a group of terminally ill patients. I think they had cancer. And they graciously said, we will take part in this study, because the problem with neuroscience is you have to cut open people's brains, which is very dangerous, to see what's going on there. So to do experiments, there are quite a lot of limits. And these people said, you can do experiments on us, and because I know I'm going to die, so after my death, you can also take a look at my brain and see what's changed. And so in that group of individuals, they saw that, and these people were from their 60s and older, they saw that there are actually new brain cells being born, even in an advanced age. So why is this important? This is a key part of coaching, and whatever in whatever setting you are interested in changing behavior, because neurons that fire together wire together. What does that mean? That means, a very easy example is, we all have a song that we associate with something, and whenever you hear that song, you think about that person or that time or that experience, whatever it is. And when you hear that song, it's not just your memory. You don't just remember what it is about, you also feel the reaction in your body and in your nervous system. Is it automatically happens when you hear that song. And that is what it means when we say neurons that fire together wire together. That's why when people have trouble with finance, and especially in a marriage or in a relationship, it can become so deeply entrenched, because every time we talk about money, we fight. So when we want to talk about money, we haven't even started the discussion yet. We are already in fight or flight mode, because we anticipate the conflict. And that's not a good way to make any decisions. It's not a good way to find solutions, because it shuts down your brain, parts of your brain. So that is why it's really important to understand that association that forms if you always fight when you talk about money, then you will go into fight or flight mode before you talk about money. And that's something that we can change. So how do we change? The brain is always changing. If, for example, a person becomes blind, then the part of the brain that has to do with the information coming in from the eyes, visual information being interpreted, that part of the brain may not have anything to do if a person is blind. So that part of the brain isn't going to now do nothing. It will start doing something else. So it's almost, you can almost see it like a garden. If you take out a certain section of your garden, you take out the plants. it's not going to just stay like that. Something else is going to grow there. And in that way, that sense, it's always changing. So I always like this metaphor. If you walk in a forest and you walk that same path every day, then that path will stay open. If you stop walking there, the plants will grow there, and the path won't be there anymore. And it's the same with your brain. Every time you do something, you strengthen the connection. Every time you don't do something, you either strengthen the connection to resist it, or the connection that you have for doing that activity weakens. And that basically is really how behavior is formed and also maintained. So how do we change? By repetition, by intention. That's quite important. If you want to do, for example, if you want to make it a habit to keep track of your finances, you do it every day at the same time, but specifically with the intention. If you say to yourself, I am doing this with the intention of improving my financial life or working towards the financial freedom I want, it will work better if you do it like that, as opposed to just doing it. And then if you have a supportive environment, that includes the books you read, the programs you listen to, the conversations you have, etc. Because all of that collectively gives your subconscious mind a direction to go into. And then physical health. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to go into that, but your physical health, physical and mental health really, is extremely important, because you cannot make good decisions if your body and your mind aren't functioning well. And the degree to which that has an influence in your life, I can't even tell you in words. So being physically healthy is very important. And then daily right action, and that's what we do in money coaching, is whatever your specific challenge is, you find 1 or 2 actions that you can take every day to start to reprogram your subconscious, to move away from, for example, being a martyr, moving towards being a warrior and a magician. The magician is the ideal money type. So daily right action. Now, this is just to give you an idea of how do you instruct your subconscious, and how do you get the right the message across the right way. So I'm sure all of you, everybody who has a child will know, if you tell your child don't touch that, then they will immediately touch that. And here this little girl she really did listen to her mom. Her mom said do not touch it, but she didn't touch it. But anyway, this is just to say that the way you give the instruction to your subconscious mind is very important. It's almost like ChatGPT. You have to formulate it in the right way. So like I said before, don't say, if you say I don't want debt, then your subconscious only hears debt. So again, we unfortunately don't have enough time to go through all the details. Okay, the next point is the quality of the answers you get in life depends on the quality of the questions you ask. So giving you an example, if you were to ask yourself, am I successful? What answer can you get? You can get a yes or a no. And people are always, again, this is also something that your subconscious mind's always doing. Your subconscious is always asking questions without you knowing it. Am I successful? Am I good enough? Am I clever enough? Am I pretty enough? Whatever it is. If you change that question to say, to ask, how can I be successful? That is already a better quality question to ask. How can I be successful? I want you to really understand this. If you walk around and throughout your life, ask yourself, am I good enough? Am I successful? Am I, because it all comes back to, am I good enough? And you're always asking yourself that question. And basically with that goes, you think, you are wondering, what do people think? Do people think I am successful? Do people think I am good enough? Do they see me as successful? Do they see me as good enough? If you change that to how can I be successful? Now it becomes information that you can use constructively. How can I be successful? I can work a little bit harder or exercise more or whatever the case may be. And if you change that to how can I be even more successful? That is a very good quality question, because now you are directing your subconscious mind. It's almost like like a beagle. We used to have a beagle when I was a child, and if they smell something, they get so excited and they go and look for it immediately. They're always searching. And that's what your subconscious mind does. If you ask your subconscious, how can I be even more successful? Then your subconscious mind starts to find the answer to that question. And this is part of the daily right action. If you do this every day, write it down somewhere, reprogram your mind to ask, how can I be more successful? Whether it's in finance or something else doesn't really matter. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation. As a bonus, I will give every person here a free discovery call or money type consult session. So if you do want to make use of that opportunity, you can send me an email. I see I forgot to put it in the presentation. Let me just find the chat box. I'm going to type it here. Or you can also send WhatsApp. Okay, I've put my details in the chat box. You are more than welcome to send me an email, send me a WhatsApp message if you have a question, or if you want to make use of the opportunity to schedule a free consult. You're more than welcome to do that. And now I would like you to ask questions. If you have any questions, you are more than welcome to ask questions. I'm going to hang around here for a few minutes just to be sure that somebody, if somebody had if somebody wanted to ask questions, that they have the opportunity. If you don't have any questions, then you can also hang around if you want to, but you don't have to.